Stage 1. The first hit. The bathroom door is locked before the lighter even catches. You keep one shoulder against it while the pipe hovers just in front of your face. Your sister's name lights the cracked phone beside somebody else's keys. You let it ring because answering would mean walking back out. The first rush lands hard enough to sharpen every tile. Every grout line and chrome edge suddenly looks cut from cleaner air. The first pull feels cheap for half a second, then exact. Every tile line sharpens. The mirror gets meaner, the room gets cleaner, and your own face suddenly looks like somebody making a smart decision under pressure. You tell yourself, this is not a new life, only a faster version of an old habit. On the ride home, your jaw still hums. Dawn slides across the windshield before the feeling is gone, and that is the part that scares you for exactly one breath. By the time you reach your apartment, the fear has already turned into planning. The wand is back before your keys stop shaking in the lock. Work boots wait by the door like tomorrow still belongs to you. Medical envelopes curl beside a cold mug on the counter, and the room smells like stale coffee and the tiny amount of order you still have left. You swallow the last prescription pill because it feels stupid to waste it now. Your sister calls again while you stand at the sink. The screen glows in your hand and you think about the bathroom, the flame, the clean cut of that first rush. Before breakfast, you are already telling yourself there will be a second night, but only to prove you can still stop after it. You lie down fully dressed and never really sleep. By noon, the mug in the sink smells sour, the call log is longer, and when the phone lights again, you reach for your coat before you reach for your conscience. Stage 2. The 10-minute loop. The second time happens in a living room with the blinds shut and the lamp on in the middle of the afternoon. There is ash on the coffee table, cold fries in an open carton, and a silence in the room that only lasts until the lighter clicks. Someone passes the pipe like they are handing over directions. 10 minutes later, you are already asking when the next ride leaves. That is when the day breaks into tiny emergencies. You check your pockets before you check the time. You search the couch cushions before you think about dinner. Soda goes flat beside the same lighter all day, and every quiet patch in the room turns out to be nothing more than the gap between one problem and the next one. The battery on your phone dies, and your whole body tightens harder than hunger ever could. Access suddenly feels smaller than a charger cord. A 20 becomes a ride and a promise. Another 20 becomes a lie you send to work. By midnight, you are pacing between the coffee table and the door like the next knock might restore your whole nervous system. Sleep arrives in scraps with your shoes still on. You wake on the edge of the mattress with your mouth tasting burn and your chest buzzing like a bad wire behind drywall. The hallway outside keeps filling with shoes that are not yours. You stop opening the blinds because daylight now feels like an accusation. Small bills disappear faster than you can count them. A half-charged phone becomes more valuable than food. Every promise you make now has a 10-minute expiration date, and by the end of the week, your whole routine fits on one coffee table, one lighter, one outlet, one dead-eyed room. That is how the map shrinks without you noticing it happen. Stage 3. Functional denial. You still have a key, a paycheck, and just enough discipline to fake a person who is holding together. In the mirror, you button a clean shirt over bad sleep and use gum, spray, and fluorescent office lighting as if they are all forms of forgiveness. At work, you keep every conversation shorter than it needs to be. Your hands stay out of sight whenever possible. You drink burnt coffee and call the tremor caffeine. Your paycheck lands and vanishes inside one weekend. Groceries narrow into noodles, chips, and whatever costs less than the ride back out. Utility notices start stacking beside the cracked phone, and the sink turns sour before you notice it. The bathroom at work becomes a checkpoint. Eyes, lips, jaw, breath, pupils. Every normal task turns into a delay between you and the next use, and every delay starts feeling personal. Your sister asks why your voice sounds so far away. You tell her work is weird and the bank is worse. She lets you finish, but the silence after your lie lands harder than the lie itself. Your boss starts watching the clock every time you disappear. Friends stop inviting you twice and start inviting you once. At night, the apartment still looks mostly normal from the street. Inside, the laundry pile grows into another piece of furniture, and the trash sweetens, then sours, then sweetens again. You keep the cracked phone face down during dinner because every light from it now feels like a witness. You still say stopping is a choice, but you say it like somebody talking about an appointment that will never be kept. Stage 4. The world shrinks. The first thing you sell is not sentimental enough to stop you. Headphones leave before the watch. The watch leaves before the tools. Soon, every object in the apartment starts presenting itself in units of relief, and the room begins to look less like a home than a waiting area between deals. Motel rooms replace weekends. Borrowed couches replace mornings. You learn which alley stays dark after midnight and which corner store never asks why you shake. A pawn slip starts living on the dresser, and pale outlines appear where normal life used to sit. Broken blinds turn every headlight into a threat. Knocks at the door sound personal, even when they are not. You stop calling places home and start calling them spots. The phone becomes a map of whoever still leads to relief, and your sister's thread sinks lower and lower beneath numbers you only use for runs, rides, and lies. Cash only stays in your hand long enough to leave it again. Hunger becomes background noise under the louder problem. You start sleeping in your clothes, cause leaving fast matters more than sleeping well. Every bag by the door looks like a possible exit until you realize none of those exits lead anywhere bigger than the room you are already in. The mirror in the motel bathroom makes your eyes look hunted. Sometimes you mistake paranoia for caution cause it sounds less pathetic. Mostly it is just another room you cannot relax inside. By now every trip outside is a transaction, and every trip back inside is a surrender. Stage 5, the crash house routine. Eventually the room stops changing because the room is one. Mattresses lie on the floor under blankets that never fully dry. A floor lamp stains the walls the same dirty amber every night. Shared residue lives in the curtains, the pillows, the sink, your hoodie, your breath. You wake coughing before you wake thinking. Your first movement is always the same. Pockets, phone, panic. Nobody in the room trusts anybody, but nobody leaves for long either. One person watches the blinds, another watches the door, and somebody always says the runner is almost back, like hope is something you can keep alive by repeating it badly. People stop saying crack and start saying whatever sounds less exact. The batch is different. The ride got delayed. The dude is coming. Your lips split, your weight drops, and your teeth ache under the hoodie while everybody in the room pretends language can still protect the body from chemistry. Hunger flips into nausea every time food gets close. The screen finally goes quiet in the middle of the afternoon because your sister has used up whatever was left between concern and exhaustion. Even the emergency room starts looking like a reasonable room. That is how you know the loop has eaten the rest of the map. The room has no clock, but everybody knows when the money is gone. When someone knocks, every back straightens at once. When nobody knocks, the silence gets worse than the coughing. You keep telling yourself this is temporary because the truth is heavier, and the room keeps taking permanent things anyway. Stage 6. The interruption. The interruption does not feel dramatic from the inside. It feels like chest pain, bright light, and hands you did not invite. You open your eyes under hospital white instead of amber. Your clothes sit in a plastic bag beside the chair. A wristband answers the question your phone used to answer. A nurse asks what you took and when, and for once, the timeline matters more to somebody else than it does to you. Your throat tastes chemical and metal. Your lungs feel like they have been lined with sand. Across the room, a younger guy rubs his bad shoulder and looks away as if this place can still be private. Your sister's thread ends with, "I cannot keep doing this." There are no new messages below it. The sentence sits on the screen with more finality than any speech anybody could give at your bedside. This is what silence looks like when it has finally earned the right to stay. The doctor does not talk like a movie. They talk in practical nouns. Lungs, oxygen, infection, dehydration, follow-up, monitor, discharge, risk. It sounds less dramatic than panic and more permanent than panic, which makes it worse. When they finally walk out, the room gets honest. Outside, daylight makes everything look flatter than it should. The cracked phone still works. The same numbers are still there. So is your sister's silence. The interruption is not the fix. It is only the first moment in months where the story stops lying about what comes next.